The voice. Luke 1:13-20 says, "The angel said, 'Don't be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayers have been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will give birth to your son, and you must name him John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many people will rejoice at his birth, for he will be great in the Lord's eyes. He must not drink wine and liquor. He will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before his birth. He will bring many Israelites back to the Lord their God. He will go forth before the Lord, equipped with the spirit and power of Elijah. He will turn the hearts of fathers back to their children, and he will turn the disobedient to righteous patterns of thinking. He will make ready a people prepared for the Lord.' Zechariah said to the angel, 'How can I be sure of this? My wife and I are very old.' The angel replied, 'I am Gabriel. I stand in God's presence. I was sent to speak to you and to bring this good news to you. Know this, what I have spoken will come true at the proper time. But because you didn't believe, you will remain silent, unable to speak until the day when these things happen.'" Luke 2:15-18. When the angels returned to heaven, the shepherds said to each other, "Let's go right now to Bethlehem and see what's happened. Let's confirm what the Lord has revealed to us." They went quickly and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. When they saw this, they reported what they had been told about this child. Everyone who heard it was amazed at what the shepherds told them. Have you ever lost your voice? Like most things, you don't realize just how valuable it is until it is gone. Our voices give us power. We use them to share information, ask questions, cry for help, give our opinion, offer comfort, and so much more. When Zechariah doubted the angel's message, God took away his voice. This would be difficult enough for most of us, but this is especially difficult in the role of a priest. This priest speaks on behalf of the people. This one time, not only did Zechariah have his regular priestly duties, he also had been chosen to enter the Holy of Holies to speak on behalf of the people. A rope was tied around the priest before he entered, in case he was struck dead for being unworthy to enter. This way he could be pulled out without anyone else trying to enter. Zechariah returned alive, but he returned without a voice. This would have created quite a stir, not just in concern for Zechariah, but a rising fear for what his muteness might mean for the people of Israel. If the man representing the voice of the people came back without a voice, it would certainly be taken as a message from God. Contrast this with the shepherds. Shepherds had no voice. When Zechariah's priestly voice mattered to an entire people group, the shepherds' voices mattered to almost no one. They spent all of their time with sheep, likely going for days without even interacting with anyone but other shepherds. Not only did they spend their days and nights separated from the rest of society, they were so poorly regarded that they were barred from testifying in a court of law. Yet God, as only God can, chose the shepherds to reveal the identity of Jesus. Outside of Mary and Joseph, the shepherds were the only ones to hear the good news of the new thing God was doing. God chose shepherds to be his witnesses, to spread the news of what they had seen to everyone in the town. In the coming of Jesus, God reversed the standard power of voice. He took the voice of the priest and supplied a voice to the shepherds. Why? Because God speaks in his own way, the wondrous way of the Lord, and is not held by the patterns of this world. I am a pastor, a woman of the Word and the Word. I have loved words since I was a little girl, reading voraciously and trying out new vocabulary words, like voracious, in random situations, even as a middle school student. I have not always been comfortable in social situations, but I could usually count on my words to get me through. I could pound out an 8-page paper the night before it was due. I learned get to know you tricks so that I could connect with new people of any age. I was leading devotions for teens and adults as a teenager. I started preaching while I was in college and was ordained as a pastor early in my 30s. And then a group of refugees showed up at my church. At the age of 38, all of my words lost their power. I will never forget sitting in an apartment with a 75-year-old grandmother, her face wrinkled and weathered from years of hard work in the sun. She was wrapped in a bright yellow sari, barefoot, with beaded bracelets on her wrists. We sat side by side on the couch, though she would have been much more comfortable squatting on the floor, and talked. I started by holding out my hands. I pointed to them, naming them in English, hands. She repeated the word in English, hands. Then she said the matching word in Nepali, hot. I repeated the Nepali word, hot. We moved on to our arms, pakura, then our mouths, muk. We exchanged words for head, legs, and other body parts, and then moved on to numbers using our fingers, 1, 2, 3. The laughs came when I told her the English word for her shoes. Flip-flops? She giggled. I laughed too. This elderly woman had lost many things when she was pushed out of her country, but she lost even more when she came to the United States. She lost her words, her voice. Americans don't know her language, and she doesn't know ours. In the coming months, I also realized that as I ventured into the refugee community, I had lost my voice as well. The words I had depended on for so many years to connect and communicate with people, to share my story and God's story, were gone. I knew God had brought me to this place and to this group of people. I knew God had brought them to us. I have given more hugs in the last 5 years than in all my prior years combined. I have learned to hold the hands of strangers. I've learned to express solidarity without verbalizing anything at all. We have all learned to speak in gestures, and we have also learned to laugh at our mistakes. I have likely trampled upon every social convention in Nepali culture, but for all that, we have loved one another. I have advocated for them when they needed a translator, learning to use my voice to prosper someone who has lost theirs. I have cried with those who have lost loved ones in a country far away and cannot say their final goodbyes. They have shown me true hospitality, always offering tea and constantly feeding me more than I could ever eat. These exchanges remind me that our God likes to shake things up. Why? I can't say all the reasons, but I think it has something to do with what Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians 12:9. He said to me, "My grace is enough for you, because power is made perfect in weakness. So I'll gladly spend my time bragging about my weaknesses so that Christ's power can rest on me." When we lose our perceived power, we get to see God. When our voices are silenced, it allows God's voice to be heard. And when God speaks, the people will listen and be amazed. He did it 2,000 years ago with Zechariah and the shepherds, and he still does it today. Let God use your weakness to show his strength. Do not be afraid to follow God into unknown territory, for there he may give you a new voice altogether. We can use our voices on behalf of others. We can also sit quietly and let the loving message of God work through us without words. God shows his glory and spreads his love And sometimes he even uses words. 3 actions. 1, read 1 Corinthians 12, 1 through 10. Can you think of a time when God used your weakness in a unique way to connect with someone else? 2, are you frustrated by your lack of skills or abilities in some way? Ask God to open your eyes to how he is at work in your weakness. 3, is there someone around you who has lost their voice? Is God asking you to be the voice for the voiceless in your community? Final thought. We learn new ways to use our voices when God is at work.